This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Bear, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is Thursday, July 12th, 2018. This is Good Gracious Show with Boyd Baker, and this is episode 109. So on this episode, I sat down with an old friend of mine, Derek Yaniger, who is an amazing artist. He's always been a little bit off the center of the bubble, so to speak, and it's what makes him so fantastic. He is a specialist in doing retro art, call it tiki art, hip cat art, dragster, whatever you want. But his style is really a throwback. But he's bringing it into the modern age, and he's a super nice guy, super funny guy. And we could have talked for a couple of hours just because of the way we are. But he is doing some really cool stuff and wanted to share that with you. And I also got to sit down with Nelson Nolan and Bradley Cole-Smith of the Bradley Smith Band and chat with them for a bit about their little voyage to coming together and how they play together here in Atlanta. And Bradley's got a show coming up in August, and I'll put links to it there on the website, but in the show notes. He's super guys, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I got to apologize, man. Here it is. It's the middle of July. I went on hiatus, and I didn't give anybody notice. But 4th of July, family, the month of July, I just need to honestly just block it off. I don't know about you, but people are on vacation. People are disappearing. It's too hot. They're just, they're going deep. They're going deep where they can relax. And this year you got World Cup that messes up all those crazy soccer fans too. So I'm trying to get back on the horse now here in July. Sorry if I've neglected you, but trying to take care of a few things. And I got some other news coming up, but I think I'll save that for next week. A couple things going on here at Wonder Shop as well as with the live show. So, until then, just enjoy.
My name is Derek Yaniger, and I am an illustrator, artist, painter. I dig the whole retro vibe. I love, like when I grew up in the '60s, and all the stuff that my folks were pack rats, especially my dad. Had old jazz albums and old, men's magazines hidden in the garage, but I sniffed out. My 14-year-old me sniffed out really quickly, but just. I was an artist even before I picked up a pencil. I was an artist. So I was just obsessed with images. Rat Fink boxes. Rat Fink model kits and Mad magazine and Monster magazines and any of that kind of stuff. Just flip my switches. So that I didn't even know it at the time, but I was like soaking all that. My little kid brain was soaking it up like a sponge, and it kind of rolled around in my coconut for years, and then I worked for Marvel Comics for a lot of years.
Well, hold on. Now how'd you get to jump? Because you went, I'm 14 years old. I've been an artist before I even put the pencil, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm working for Marvel. So how does that happen? Well, did you just start doodling in class, or did you actually start taking classes that go, artist?
The dream when I was in high school was comic books, because every kid I was obsessed with comics. So that was really where I started. I want to do that. So I went to school, went to UGA, got a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, and then and really focused on illustration mostly. And so I worked for a few years for a local sweatshop, a graphic place called Graphics Group. And it was just miserable. It was horrible, But it was really, I learned really how to hit deadlines and to do all kinds of different styles, and so. But I got sick. I was sick of it, and the guy I was working for was a total. Yep, the guy was horrible. He was a toupee-wearing lunatic. Anyway, but so I was really anxious to give him the boot and give that whole thing the boot. And then, so in my off hours, I was in a band in the '90s here in Atlanta called Dead Elvis, And so I was doing all these zombie Elvises and
for posters and stuff.
Yeah,
like
for
that.
posters and stickers and T-shirts.
Promo.
Yeah, and we were the worst band in the world. And it was so funny because it was me and some fellow artists from UGA. So we had stickers and T-shirts and posters. We had the whole merch table filled before we even bought instruments.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh shit, we need to buy some instruments now. You know, so then we we were horrible. We had a blast.
But you were dead Elvis. I mean, how good is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be horrible, so we lived up to that. So I had all this art. I had all this zombie Elvis art, you know. So I was like, all right. So then I was like, I'll start going to Dragon Con, which has been going on here in Atlanta, you know, forever. 30 years, I think they've been doing it. So I would schlep around my big portfolio with all my drawings and go to the DC table and the Marvel table. And
so you'd use it like a networking kind of. I mean, do people do that? Kind of?
Yeah, because they'd have the Marvel table, big table, and they have all the people, you know, guys from New York, you know, and the DC, you know. So thankfully, there was this one guy that really liked what I was doing and said, "Hey, I'm working on a Hellraiser series with Clive Barker, you know." And so he was doing a comment, you know. So he said, "Hey, you want to?" So yeah. So that was my first opportunity. So I started out doing more horror kind of stuff, and then I ended up doing, you know, Toxic Avengers. You know, I'm not sure you remember that horrible thing. And then worked on Web of Spider-Man, and then the one that was probably the biggest one I did was the Transformers. It was the new Transformers Generation 2 was the thing. So I mean, it was fun. But it got to the point,
dream, man.
Well, I did, but it didn't, you know, light me up like I thought it would. I wasn't that good at it. I mean, because a lot of it, you know, especially the Transformers stuff, was a little more realistic, and it was a little more. And I think I'm naturally more of a kind of a fun cartoon kind of nut. Yeah. So it just didn't do it for me. So I got to the point where I liked telling people I worked for Marvel because they Marvel, because everybody was Marvel, you know. But I didn't really.
Well, especially these days. Just think if you'd done that now. I mean, everybody. Like,
I know.
God,
Marvel's huge.
Movies.
I know.
Yeah.
And back, this was before they were making all the movies and doing all that stuff. So, you know, I just kind of started, you know, thinking I don't want to do this anymore. And I'd kind of started in my off hours, all those memories from my childhood of all the retro images and stuff that I'd soaked up really started coming out. And so I was doing paintings for friends for their birthdays or doing other things. And I was just really I became obsessed with retro and what makes retro. Why when I look at this piece of art, do I think of the 50s? Right, you know, why? What is it about it? It's the color, it's the line work, it's the type. You know, and so I really started getting obsessed with it and doing it in my off hours. And then I had some friends that worked at Turner, and I had done some work for Turner, some like, you know, TV guide ads and crap, you know. And so then from there, I kind of segued into Cartoon Network, which at that time there was a lot more stuff going on at Cartoon Network, you know, here in Atlanta. A lot of that's moved to LA now. But so I said, I'll go in and do the, you know, and it was crazy because the way they did it was you go in for the interview, and then you have to kind of, you're sitting there and they kind of say, all right, and they give you some paper and go, Fred Flintstone. Oh, okay. George Jetson. Oh, you know, Powerpuff Girls. And you have to, you know, and I kind of knew that, so I practiced a little bit. So they were like, okay, cool. So I was like, became the official, you can do it. Okay, cool. Right. So I got the gig. And so it was all freelance, but it was good. It was great, steady stuff, you know. But then again, I was sick of it. Well, I was always, for years, I had been drawing other people's property.
Right.
You know, Marvel characters and all that crap. It wasn't mine. You know, it didn't feel like, you know, and I think most artists strive to do their own thing, you know, to dance to the beat of their own bongos, you know. I mean, that was kind of and so I said, screw it. I don't want to do this anymore. Started turning them down, and at the time, too, I was obsessed with tiki and the whole tiki Hawaiiana.
How did you get that? But why? Just because you were starting to wander in your head in your off hours, just looking into other things?
Yeah, and anything retro culture, anything that was, you know, popular, anything, you know, whether it was rockabilly or cocktail culture, you know, Vegas stuff. I mean, anything that, you know, conjured up those ideas of the, you know,
of
50s. And, yes, yeah. I don't know why, but it was just, you know, I think it was because of all the stuff I looked at as a child, all the stuff in my home that, you know, So then it was around 2000, and then I said, you know, screw it, I'm doing my own thing. And my wife, of course, I can hear her eyes rolling right now. Listen, you hear that? Yeah. That's my wife's eyes rolling. So no, she's been Thank God for my
Yeah.
wife. But anyway,
Well,
very
she's
patient.
supposed to. They're supposed to roll their eyes. That's the balance, right? That's
Exactly.
the life. The yin
Keeps
and
me
yang.
humble.
That's
yeah.
right.
So yeah, around 2000, I really started. So I was basically putting retro images, on CDs. Remember CDs?
Yeah.
I think they still make those, don't
do.
they? Anyway, I was burning CDs with images and sending them to anyone who had any kind of retro event or retro magazine, Atomic magazine in New York, Barracuda in San Francisco or Los Angeles. Doesn't matter. California. And so Tiki Oasis was an event that was just starting up in San Diego. And just anything like that, rockabilly shows, So I started sending these to all these people, and Tiki Oasis was one of the first people that got back to me and said, "Yeah, okay, you know."
Did they want you to do a poster or something, or did they say, "Come on out and you can have a table"?
Well, that too, both of those, and that started out doing that too, but mostly, a poster, event art. We make it a print and then he could use it for his advertising to promote the event, so that's basically what it was. And I've been doing stuff for Tiki Oasis for 17 years. Yay, 17 years now, right? Yeah.
It's about to go off
around
to college.
2001, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's just insane. So that really got my big toe in the door. And then and in the beginning, I didn't charge them anything. I was doing it for free because it was just get my name out there.
Yeah,
Derek, put Derek on everything, just Derek, simple, and I just get it out there, And so that's what my goal was, and it worked. And then I started getting calls from people who had rockabilly events or any kind of thing like that, surf shows or and that was it. I haven't really looked back. I mean, that's been the thing, and thankfully, I actually got to the point where I could charge people.
Right.
Stopped my wife's eyes from rolling.
As much.
Yes, as much. Yeah, exactly.
It's all quality.
Bingo, ringo. Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened. And so then
So it's curious. So do you feel like is there a certain mainstream aspect or access to the art as well, or do you think it's other people looking like you did it? Man, I long for that, that pastime, or is it all only about the gonzo folks who are, they're living the tiki, they're living the rockabilly every day?
Yeah. Well,
you find both?
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I thought when I started doing this that there was a handful of people that are into this. I mean, I didn't think it was, and I thought, like anything, it was going to slow down and die out, But the tiki thing has gotten bigger and bigger, and it's huge. I mean, these events are huge. Like the Tiki Oasis in San Diego is like, there's a lot of people at these damn things. It's insane. Yeah. So I thought I had no idea, but then so basically what I'm catching, and that's funny because my people that buy my stuff's kind of. It's like kind of, it reminds a lot of people of Bullwinkle or Pink Panther. It's all the stuff I loved as a kid, and there's lots of that. Very. And so I find that my crowds are a great mix of people. Like girls seem to really like it because I do like real cute pinup girl kind of stuff, and I almost sell more pinup girl stuff to girls than I do to guys, But then I'll have a guy that's like fully sleeved, nose ring, hardcore punk or a rockabilly dude. Oh, I love this dude, buying stuff. I'm like, oh, I cannot believe, and it's amazing. And then like gay guys, gay couples will seem to love it. It's got that kind of retro kitsch thing, and so and then young people too, because they come up and they see it and they don't have the history to know what that is.
They think
they know it's different. Yeah,
they're like, Derek created this.
He's a genius.
What's a tiki? Oh, Derek knows all about tiki.
That's right. I carved the first tiki in 2004. Yeah. So, but anyway, so it's a real nice mix of people, So I'm not selling to one. My target audience is really a pretty wide group of people.
At this point.
Yes. Yeah. So that's
you got to start somewhere, right? Yeah, so, when you start at that kind of, that you find that niche, which then that slowly kind of builds out.
Yeah, and I was never doing it like most artists. I never was doing it for the money, and I never was thinking, what do people like? What do I really was very selfish. I'm a selfish, no good Nick. Yeah. I mean, I was just doing it for me because I just
And now who are you doing
it
for, Derek? Is it for the people?
It's for me. Shh, don't tell them. It's just for me. No, it's, you know, things do get stuck in my head like, oh, those always sell well. A girl, you know, a girl and a monster and a hot rod. Oh, my God, that's gold.
That's a winner.
It's gold, Jerry. So, you know, I will go to that, you know. So, yeah, I mean, it does enter in. I want to sell stuff. But I still really, the main person I got to make happy is me, and I got to keep that in mind because that's how you started. You started just doing this stuff to make yourself happy, and if it you know flips your switches, then it'll flip other people's switches. So that's what I got to do.
Well, do you physically do a lot of events and things, or are you just like sitting in your studio, just like tooling away and then just counting the money? Is that the way it goes, or is it
except
both?
for the counting the money?
Except for the counting. Yeah, that's true.
That's not hard. Yeah. That doesn't take long.
Yeah. Because a lot of artists are kind of mystery. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, I've seen that, but I don't know where is Picasso.
I switch it up. My day's different. Like sometimes it's a gallery show, so I'm doing paintings. I do paintings, acrylic on wood for different shows. And I'm lucky to have a lot of shows. We've done a lot of shows overseas, Australia. I've got a show next April in Madrid at a gallery.
How do you get a show in Madrid?
The social medias, oh my God, man. I started doing the, you know, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It really just, you know, because there's, and a lot, it seems like a lot of Europeans really dig that 50s American car culture thing. I mean, I don't know. It's just and thankfully there's lots of little lowbrow galleries all over the world. I mean, these aren't, you know, this isn't the Met or the, you know, these aren't, you know, necessarily, you know, these highbrow galleries.
Right.
They're fun little funky galleries that sell books and toys and cool, just hip stuff you can't get anywhere else, you know. So that's a great market. So those people found me on social media, and I'm really religious about posting stuff just about every day, you know. And so, so I get a lot of gallery shows. But then I'll also do a commission gig. I'll do a record cover for somebody or a logo for somebody, and it's all in my world. It's all within that, you know, with somebody that sells maybe retro clothing or a band that plays, you know, rockabilly, you know, or surf or something. So yeah, and as for events, three or four a year. I mean, I'll do Dragon Con here in Atlanta every year, just because that's just free money. It's just money from the sky. It's beautiful, and people are so nice. And been doing it for so long, I've built up a nice following, so they always come see me.
Do you have like a throne that you set up there and a big 6-foot table?
No, I do not. No, I got to get down and dirty with the people, with the peasants.
Yeah.
No, and then I just did a show in Nashville called the Nashville Boogie, which is this kind of Western rockabilly swing kind of thing, which is just crazy. I mean, everything you can imagine, there's an event. There's a you know, a convention for. So probably 3 or 4 shows at the most a year, because I like to mix it up.
Right. So and that gets you out, and you get to touch people, and then you go back, you go back underground, and you just do your thing.
Crank out the crap, and you know, hope it sells.
Yeah. Well, so how did you? Just out of curiosity, you know, I connected with you through that T-shirt design you did for Big Mike for Puddles.
Puddles. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what did you just go? Hey, man, I got a design. Just like shoot it off to him, or did they go? Derek, we need you to do this.
Big Mike. I've known Big Mike for years. I remember when he was in the useless Playboys. You remember the useless?
Oh my God! Yeah. I found an old cassette I had of it.
Did you? I've got the single. Yeah. I love it. Anyway, and I would run into him. He did Tongo Heedy for a long time at Trader Vic's. Yeah. Right. And we were just running in the same circles, you know. So I was running into him, and he was. And so, you know, he would come to me in the past. You know, he would ask me. He wanted me to do a CD cover for Tongo Heedy, I think, and I hit him with the price, and I think it was maybe a little too, you know. So I didn't hear back, and it's fine, you know. And so, so basically, he wrote to me and was like, "Hey, we should do something. I want to do some, you know, we want to do T-shirt design or stickers or something." And he had a bunch of different ideas. And at the time, I honestly, I got my head buried, and I'm working, and I'm not paying attention to any damn thing, and so I miss stuff. So I'd kind of said something about Puddles, and my daughter, who is a hipster, she was like, "Puddles? You know Puddles?" And I was like, "Is that?" And she was like, "Oh my God!" And she was like flipping out because she's like a huge fan. I'm like, "Really?" And I'm like, And so then I'm like, oh, okay. And so then we're going through the channels one night on television, and we see him on America's Got Talent. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Big Mike. And my wife and it's Big Mike. We're freaking out. My daughter's like, you know Puddles? And, and so then I'm thinking, this is shit. This is gonna take off. I'm like an idiot. And so I immediately like,
hey,
sorry.
Mike,
I forgot. Sorry, I'm so late to get back to you. I'd love to work with you. So then he, I did a bunch of different sketches, and then he picked the one he liked, and we did it. So and it was really cool because he played
knocks.
You got to answer that.
Sometimes,
and he played at Center Stage. Had 2 shows. Center Stage, both sold out. I'm like, this is. I mean, he's such a talented cat.
Amazing.
And the sweetest, the biggest,
biggest
the
heart.
bigger they are, the sweeter they are. So I was able to take my daughter, we got guests, we got to go backstage and hang out with him. And it's just so sweet. So my daughter was like, my dad's cool.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Whatever.
For a moment.
Yeah, for a moment. It didn't last.
Yeah.
But, that's how that
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's
good stuff.
You never know. Well, if people want to check out your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can look at it's derekart.com is DEREK art.com. Derek.art if you want to follow me on Instagram.
Wow.
And there's also a website, MrRetro.com, and that's where I have all my prints for sale and books and all kinds of stuff. There's just tons, heaps and gobs of crap on there. So
Heaps and gobs of crap. That's what people need these days.
You got to fall by and eye it because it's a riot.
Yeah.
Daddy-o. So check it out, And let me know if you dig it.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
It was a gas. Thank you, Boyd.
I am Bradley Cole Smith. I'm here with Nelson Nolan, and we've been playing music together for
long time,
about 20 years. And
Just the two of you? I mean, did it start just the two of you picking and playing?
I started playing in Atlanta in the early 90s with a band called Double Wide. And we formed in Colorado and moved back here in 1993, and we played full-time, traveled around the Southeast and the country really for 6 or 7 years. And then I went out and started the Bradley Cole Smith Band and put out a CD on my own, and we were playing, and Nelson and I had played together, but we were playing in city stages in Birmingham, and our guitar player could not play, and so I said, Nelson, will you sit in? And he said, yeah. And it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, well,
20
I
years
can
later,
do a gig, and I don't have to do any of the planning or anything.
Because I'd known him and been following the band, right? And I had been playing and had a band that I was playing in called the Grounders, which was a blues band out of Alabama, out of Tuscaloosa, Birmingham. And we were buddies, and I knew the guys in the band, always wanted to play with them. And there was a big gig at the city stages. I mean, it was a big deal. We were opening for Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
And so anyway, about a week or two before the thing, he says, Nels, got a need, do you know these songs? I was like, hell yeah, I know the songs, man. Where do I need to be? And it was like, that was awesome. And it went great. And again, that was about 20 years ago. So we played a ton of great music, and he's written a ton of great music, and we've recorded music and all kinds of things. It's been awesome.
So we play as an acoustic duo around town and up to a 5-piece band. I've got 2 solo records out. We just put out an EP, 5-song EP last June, and I write most of the songs, and Nelson adds harmonies and mandolin and guitar, and he plays all kind of stuff. I play guitar and sing.
Now, did you start, when you were in Colorado, was it a bluegrass aspect or an American?
It was a
4-piece
acoustic band, and as that we lived in Aspen, Colorado after getting out of school, and it went pretty well, and we were playing like 5 nights a week in Aspen, and so we started traveling around to Telluride and Vail, and then all of a sudden we were playing around a good bit, and so then we went electric, and then we decided to move back to the Southeast.
You're
home base.
Why you're playing around Aspen and Telluride, and you're going, hey, let's get out of here and let's go to Atlanta. I mean, it's June right now, so it's not so bad. But
I'll tell you what, when you're a young man and you're out in Aspen, Colorado, it can get a little hazardous.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we
Yeah.
Reel it in.
yeah,
We decided maybe it would be better down.
you might have a
back
longer
towards home.
life and
Right,
career if
right.
you.
It was fun. It was fun.
I gotcha. So how do you decide when you're playing now? How do you decide how you're going to do the setup? Do you already go into it knowing you're going to be electrified 5-piece, or you're going to scale it down? Or
Well, we played the Emmons Park Festival recently, and we kind of do a combination. We'll have a drum set, but he'll play mandolin, I'll play acoustic guitar, and then we'll switch over to electric guitars. But really, it depends on the room. For instance, we're playing at Vinkman's on July 28th, and that's a 2-piece duo, so we'll do acoustic guitar and mandolin and sing harmonies. But then when we play the Camwood Park Fall Fest on September 30th, we'll be full on electric.
bigger.
You know, Hammond B3 and the whole nine.
Nice.
That's really.
And you're playing it all, right, Nelson?
No. We have a great couple great Hammond players, but I specialize in harmonies and some instruments. And just add some layers to things.
Yeah. So, did you grow up playing too, Nelson? Or?
Yeah, I've been playing a long time, since I was in high school over in Alabama, and went to school at the University of Alabama,
I'm sorry.
and met some great musicians there that are my wonderful friends to this day, that we still get together and play. One guy lives in Nashville and Huntsville, but we get together and meet down at the 30A Songwriters Festival, which Bradley might want to expound on a little bit. But after school, had some family over here and moved on over here, and
It's much better than Alabama, isn't it?
there's a lot more going on. I put it this way, it's 27 years ago, and it's been awesome ever since across the state line. You know? So it's been awesome. Met the wife here, you know, we're settled. We're not going to plan to be here for quite some time, and it's and I've known Bradley a long time, but we didn't really play music until, you know, I mean, I had projects going on, and they had the double wide, which I would go to their gigs when I could. That's why it was a classic moment when he was like, "Do you know these songs?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn right, I know these songs. You want me to play them with you guys?"
Yeah.
We need you. All right.
And a love match was made, and there you
Yeah,
go.
it was good.
Yeah,
It's been
kind
awesome.
of wove in with the local scene. I mean, I'd go see his band, and
Yeah, it's just been awesome. I mean, he has great material, super talented, and you know, we've become very good friends, and we do a lot of projects, and it's really fun, and you know, there's some good stuff in there.
So does your music just kind of hover in what people would consider Americana singer-songwriter? Is that it? I mean, once you throw mandolin in, people can kind of get a little confused. I know.
It's
well,
a good
pretty
point.
much, and it runs a good range. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not bluegrass for sure.
Right.
It's acoustic folk roots rock, I would say.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of people assume if the mandolin, oh, you're in bluegrass, and it's like, well, there's a lot more to that instrument
Yeah.
that people make an automatic assumption.
Right.
I love bluegrass,
Right.
but there's so much melody. It's a very melodic and rhythmic instrument. So there's harmonics and a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And with the acoustic duo, you know, you think of how many times you've seen two guitar players
Right.
on a patio or at a bar or at an oyster house or whatever. And it's like, you know, it's a lot of the same stuff.
Right.
Even if somebody's playing different voicings or whatever, and you know, people can get creative with that, but at the same time, you're looking at the same frequencies.
Yeah.
And if you by the same people or the same scene setting with a mandolin and a guitar, it's completely different.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's where it's fun, and that's where a lot of things mix, because you're playing two completely different things.
Right.
And if you have two people and they both sing, that makes a whole nother.
Yeah. You get
palette.
exponential.
That's a
Right,
whole nother
right.
palette. You can really it makes it where you can really do a lot of things.
Well, do you know John Houston? You know, he lives in Emmons Park. A player. He's a classical guitarist. He's got a 9-string theory.
Oh yeah.
And she plays a European version of a mandolin.
Yes.
And that's
The chord,
their whole thing.
Awesome.
And so she said the same thing. I said, "Isn't that just a mandolin?" And she's like, "Well, it's a little different. It has a little different, you know, tuning and this and that, but she would say the same thing, that it allows so much more depth and range that people don't realize it can.
Yeah, I've heard Nelson tell the story several times that he got to Atlanta and was like, "Hey, there are a lot of guitar players around here.
Yeah.
How about the mandolin? Maybe."
Yeah.
Man, it's like people still call, so I'm okay with it.
That's right.
You know, I'll go see a band, and Nelson. Every time we go see a band, Nelson gets up with the band, and I'm like, "Hey, you guys need a lead singer or a rhythm guitar player?" They're like, "No, we're good."
Yeah, it's like, seeing a lot of music. It's like, man, the cool thing about that people can do is find a niche for your creation or your creativity.
Yeah.
And to have a niche, it really makes a difference because, there's a ton of guitars, but there's not many mandolin players in Atlanta, thank God. And,
mandolin, fiddle players. Somebody needs a flutist,
Yeah, it can, the phone will ring and that's all good.
Well, you were talking about 30A, and what was, what's that history or experience been?
Well, have you ever been to the 38 Songwriters Festival?
I've wanted to get down. I just can't get away from the family.
It's down in the Grayton Beach area, and a bunch of restaurants have shows. Very singer-songwriter, Eddie's Attic-esque.
Right.
They're listening rooms, and it's fantastic because you go down there and you just pick the schedule and say, "Hey, I want to go see."
For the weekend,
John
a long
Driscoll.
weekend.
A long weekend over Martin Luther King weekend. So I have been probably 5 times, and as a spectator with my wife, and we have a very good friend who lives in Grayton Beach, and we've been down there and stayed with them, and actually helped out a little bit with the festival. And I've seen Nelson and Dave Franklin play several times, and so this past year I submitted my stuff and got in, which was fantastic. And so Nelson was already down there with Dave, and so he played.
You double dipped, didn't you, Nelson? You were playing with him,
man. Yeah,
he plays with everybody. He plays with everybody.
Equal opportunity.
I think it was 5 gigs in 3 days, and we had rehearsals, and we had a house party at my brother had a house. We had a bunch of people, so I set up a PA with lights. We had instruments.
That's quite a rehearsal.
After everything shuts down at 11, the next thing you know, there's 50 people in our house.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun. The whole weekend is like music. I say overload, but in the best way.
Yeah.
We put Dave
like
Franklin.
Going to camp.
It is. It's like
kind of like
it's just a little candy land for musicians.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
That was awesome.
Yeah, with Dave Franklin, he plays with Driving and Crying, and Kevin Kinney. They play down there, and they're really good friends. And I've gotten to play with some of those guys just through the relationship with Dave. And when you're playing, and the Secret Sisters are there, and Indigo Girls, and
Sean Mullins,
yeah, Will Kimbrough, Tommy Womack. It's just one after the other.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 and you're spending time with those people.
Yeah.
And it's just really, it's like going to camp, no doubt about it.
And like I said, I've been there several times as a spectator, so to be involved in it was special.
Yeah,
So
Bradley.
Does it give you, now you got the bug that you're saying, well, can I come back? Can I?
He got right in.
I'll do
find
my
time
best.
to get in?
I'll do my best. We'll see.
It's not on the calendar yet? You hadn't circled it?
I hadn't talked to him yet about going back.
Yeah, Russell
I hope
Carter.
to.
It's his, he's here from here in Atlanta. And it was funny because I've had a little bit of exposure to the process of getting in it. I think there's over 200 artists, all top quality stuff. And I didn't want to push Bradley about it. And I think maybe Jane had said, like, hey, bud, his wife, maybe she was,
You're calling yourself a musician, then prove it.
And then within 5 minutes, he submitted his stuff, and I think Russell was like, "I've been waiting for you to call," and he got right in, and it was just really awesome. And we played 3 different awesome venues on the beach. Just
Are they all going simultaneously? Kind of, or a little bit of overlap?
There's some. They have a large stage that is. It's actually not on 38. It's a little towards Destin, but a large stage with some bigger acts like Steve Earle. This year was Steve Earle and Ann Wilson from Heart.
Dr. John.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick.
North Mississippi All Stars, acts like that, and those will go from about 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then all the at 5 o'clock the 1 hour shows start, and it'll be 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8.
And the same stage, or
multiple stages,
multiple venues.
So you got to choose.
Like restaurants.
You got your Sophie's choice. Then.
When
you want to see 3 of them.
They got a cool app that they started this year, because you go there and you're like, oh man, I want to see this, I want to see that, but how can you be 8 miles apart, in 5 minutes, or whatever you want to do? But so you can, with the app, you can say, I want to see this venue and concentrate on one place, or an artist. I'm a huge Will Kimbrough fan, and so you can click in Will and it'll say this is his 5 spots that he's playing for the weekend, and then you can see which ones you can make and kind of make your own schedule, and it gets pretty. Like we played 3 times. I think I had 2 gigs with Dave Franklin. They booked one of those together. They got to jam. The 3 of us were playing.
Nice.
It's just been it was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, so what's the latest project? Has that changed or evolved from past projects, or is this just
the latest EP that we released? That was a year ago. That it's a 5-song EP. It's called the Hilltop EP, and we Nelson and I recorded it down at Paul Warner's studio down in Lakewood, and he's an incredibly talented musician and engineer. And we spent a good bit of time down there. And who else played on it? Jake Lawson played bass, and
Jeff Greenbaum, KT, Kevin Thomas.
Played keys.
Paul Berry on drums.
He used to play with Donkey.
Back
in the day.
He's fantastic. And then we had Christopher Allen Yates play trumpet on it, and it was funny because we knew about Christopher, and Paul knows him very well, and we were thinking, because he can play multiple instruments.
I was going to say, I didn't know he played trumpet, so.
Not many people know that.
Yeah, you've let it out of the bag now.
Yeah, and it was so funny because he's just the nicest guy, uber talented. And Paul's like, I'll call him up. Because he plays trumpet because we know horn players and stuff. And he says, but it turned out that Paul and Chris were very, very close. And then, and I was like, well, let's bring him in. He said, man, I haven't played trumpet. He goes, all right, I'll dust it off and see what you can do, see what I can do and how it's going to fit. And it's just when he plays on these tracks, it opens it up, and it's just pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a super guy, just talented.
So do you have any follow-up? Do you have any plans on, are you always writing, or is it just
I'm always writing. I wouldn't say I'm the most prolific guy in the world, but always writing. And we've got a new drummer who's playing with us named Jeff Mills, and he has a studio, and he's a great engineer. And so we're going to start recording some songs, hopefully at the end of the month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to learn more about the music and where you're playing, what's going on, what's the best way for them to do that?
My website is bradleycolesmith.com, or I'm on Facebook, and that's where you find me.
All the social media stuff.
Yeah, and you can look on Spotify or iTunes, Apple Music or any of the sites.
It's all there. Everything he's pretty much published and released is you can search at iTunes and get the whole catalog, which I have it.
Yeah.
It's under Bradley Cole Smith on all the streaming services.
Well, thanks for coming in today, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Waited for you. I wanted to stay. I burned out too. What can I say? I held on to you. I know you tried. There's that emptiness inside, and I hear when you say that your river doesn't bend that way. Every time you turn, every time you smile, hold on to you. Hold on to the how and the why. And I feel, Lord, I feel that this emptiness is real when I hear myself say that my river doesn't bend that way.
So that's it for another Good Gracious Show podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out Derek's art. It's really fantastic. He's got some really cool pieces you can buy online. And check out Bradley Cole Smith and Nelson Nolan when you get a chance. Anytime they're playing around town is a good time to go see them. You can check all the other episodes of Good Gracious Show podcast, as well as see some video from performers and some live show video. I'm getting all that cataloged and getting that up. So we'll have another show coming up, I think, in September. Love for you to share this with a friend. Tell them to check us out on Facebook. You know, we're out there. GG Show Atlanta is the Twitter handle. Until next week, keep spreading the good Southern word. Hug someone and be a good neighbor. Take care.